Stop changing everything on me. Okay, I think we're good. All right, guys, thanks for coming in, and welcome to a random idea that we just had this week about streaming called Mass Effect Spitballing Stream. And UDP and myself, every time we get into a conversation, we'll be talking about some random game. For some strange reason, for whatever the case, we will start talking about Mass Effect, and it starts going into, you know what was really stupid? You know what I really hated? You know what really pulled my hair out? Yeah, this scene, and then this scene, and then we just kept going on and on. And this happens, I think, at least 3 times a week. And we said, why don't we just stream this? Why don't we just get it out? Because I did my best with fixing Mass Effect 2, doing my own random stuff. Everyone does it. Doesn't matter what game you play, whether you love it or you hate it, you're going to start brainstorming. You're like, you know, it would be a just bit touch better if it was this way or that way. And in the case of Mass Effect, you know it would be actually good if we just eliminated half of this and started from scratch. That was the case with Mass Effect. Not to say the entire franchise was destroyed. That was just the last 20 minutes of the ending. That did it all for us. But, I mean, the stuff leading up to it. What would have gone through your head if you finished Mass Effect 1 or the first game? What would the logical progression of events saying, oh, we have this cycle where it's going to end poorly for everyone no matter what we do? How would the individual, how would a thinking man go, how would I attempt to stop this? Not, you know, some grandiose plan that he can suddenly amass all the firepower in the world, but something a bit more sophisticated that would take effort and time. And how efficient would you be at that? That's sort of the argument for going into making a story after that, or what Mass Effect 2 should have been. So some things that Mass Effect 2 got right was, we're going to keep the Reapers at bay. We're going to keep them off to the side because they are the big, mysterious, curious, unknown, the giant Cthulhu monsters that we should never really have to bring up. And that's a good idea. So they work through intermediaries. Good idea. These are all good concepts. The Collectors, a good idea. All it comes down to is execution and how it's done that screwed the pooch. So, and I see someone in the already. There's someone in the comments going, "Yep, don't kill off the protagonist." That's a good rule in general. That's just, you know, good classic storytelling. You know, you probably shouldn't kill off your main character in the first 10 minutes. Not a good option. Unless you...
Not only did he die, he went through atmospheric entry and then went splat. So he died like 3 times in a row.
Yeah, it's kind of like, you know, it's not enough to just put a bullet in his head. It's enough to turn him into a puddle. Yeah, not the best thing to do. And then, of course, have a character like Miranda who existed purely to prove that death can be averted. And then just, oh yeah, we're not going to bother with that anymore. We're not going to use that as a technique to restore humanity if ever the cycle of Reaper salad bars ever end. You know, no, we'll just throw that technology away. We'll just never talk about it ever again. So, lots of things to talk about. So how should we start this? Should we start with the protagonist? Start with the plot? Start with the antagonist? Where do you guys want to go?
I'd probably go from the jump-off point. Really, the ending of Mass Effect 1.
Okay.
Because that gives us because Mass Effect 1 ended on the best possible launch off into the next series of games, because basically everybody's united, everybody realizes that, oh dear Lord, the Reapers are real. You don't need to convince anyone else. And Shepard wanders off and kind of goes, right, the Reapers are still out there. I'm going to try and find a way to stop them. And that's the goal of Shepard. To try and find a way, that's the goal of Mass Effect 2, is to try and find a way to stop the Reapers. It's simple, it's neat, that's what he or she has to do. That's it.
Okay, so what's the simplest way, how to stop the Reapers, just off the top of your head? What's the simplest way?
Well, it depends really though. I mean, there's multiple ways. You could use, was it now? What was the one idea that I came up with, which was similar to Arrival, but rather than basically launching the big rock at it, you actually collapse it, because obviously with mass relays, if you put like a positive or a negative current, it basically affects whether things get lighter or heavier. So you could actually make a mass relay into basically a big giant black hole they just basically clings all the Reapers together. I'm not joking, it would actually be quite effective.
So you have the Citadel act as this giant hub waiting for all the Reapers to jump in, and as soon as they jump in, it's like, zoop, you just suck them all into this black hole.
Kind of, yeah. I
So
mean, there's multiple ways. I suppose
maybe
that's where we'll actually be trying to find it. I mean, we've got things like the Clondafin cannon and the Phoenix gun.
okay. So the idea of having, let's say, linking up to the Omega relay and having to shoot them into the center of the galaxy, that'd be kind of fun.
I would probably go with subterfuge. Like, if you remember what Shepard said in the Mass Effect 3 beginning, it's about survival. Well, at least in one of the options. I'm not sure if he said it in every option on the beginning, but I would probably try to hide from them. At least one colony, one planet, if they survive, just like the Protheans did, but you know how they ended up. So that's a 50-50 chance.
So make a really sophisticated Ilos, like a really like Ilos was like one of many, but you need like one that really works. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, but that's again a 50-50 chance of it being success.
Right, but that's a logical progression from like, oh, you know what, the Protheans did it and it worked to a point. They just didn't account for time. They didn't understand exactly how long this thing was going to last. And
it's like the Andromeda Initiative, but that's like you'd have to leave the galaxy. You know, it's like
Andromeda, but yeah, okay. So
Andromeda without the Andromeda.
Exactly.
It's called the Milky Way Initiative. It's like, okay, we're not going to go anywhere, guys. We're just going to dig a really big hole, and we're going to go live there for 50,000 years.
Yeah, it's called Operation Gingerbread Man because you can't catch me.
It's like, what is this gingerbread man these humans keep talking about? I have no idea. It doesn't make any sense. I also
guess it depends on your knowledge about the Reapers. If we go from the basis that what you knew from Mass Effect, or from the ending from Mass Effect 1, that I don't think many people would think of that, especially when everyone kept saying, well, you just don't know what you're talking about. If the Reapers ever existed, they died probably like 25,000 years ago.
Okay,
even if you like tell them, I mean it from the council perspective, like they still refuse to accept what you tell them about the Reapers, even if you bring solid proof. But for example, Sovereign, they might just say, well, that was just the last of the kind. So
I suppose that would work if you killed off the council and a new one comes in and they're like, what? Yeah, you have to reconvince. Whereas the old ones were like, what? We don't know about the Reaper's existence, really. Well, what's that? And he points out the window and stuff from there.
Okay. So the general idea is we're going to defeat the Reapers physically all at once in some sort of trap or super weapon.
It doesn't have to be an all. I think this was one of the things I was mentioning earlier. You don't actually have to defeat them all at once. This isn't like Stargate where they kill all the replicators all in one go. It's like you have to delay them. So the Reapers are coming, but you know, for example, if let's say we use the Arrival DLC, just an example, it's like Shepard kind of goes, right, they're coming, but only a limited amount get through at the end. So it's like there's still going to be a threat, but you're not facing the entire armada, or whatever you want to call them, the entire butt-clenching, galaxy-wiping out load of a lot of them.
Okay, so we have multiple ideas that are all seemingly, you know, they're fine. They're not impossible, but they're pretty hard to do. Like, we're going to make a weapon, we're going to kill them all at once, we're going to delay them, and we know how they get here. They arrive via Mass Effect shooting themselves off into another primary corridor or primary relay. While that's happening, we can say, okay, what if that doesn't work? So a contingency is we make an Ilos. We make another Ilos, make a series of Iloses. It's not going to be Prothean, it's going to be multiracial or multi-species. Those are all simple things, right? They're not complex. Yeah, the next step would be, okay, if we're going to do all these things, we need help. So we need resources, we need people to believe us. So we have to now prove to people, and we need help to do so. So those are three major things: stop the Reapers, slow them down, and if that doesn't work, we have to have plan B. So that's pretty much what you should do. And you have to learn about, okay, how are we going to make another Eyeless? How are we going to get more information on the Reapers? How are we going to get people to believe us? So obviously the galaxy is very big, and there's lots of people who have no idea what the hell the Battle of the Citadel was about. And you have to have information. You have to have resources. You have to get evidence. So there should be some sort of adventure. So going into Mass Effect 2, goals, let's just say, because this is the plot or the logical progression from what we just laid out. So 1, get evidence. And let's assume that, you know, it's a political battle, that the not the Alliance, but the Old Citadel Council. It's like, yeah, no, it's just a Geth attack, blah, blah, blah. So that's our main conflict. The Citadel is actually one of our enemies. So get evidence to the Reapers, and then convince people. Others. Okay. Build Ilos 2.0. And
That'll be headed by Liara.
Right. There's lots of ways to do this. And then the third one is to delay Reapers, and then 4 is learn to stop Reapers. So we're gonna slow them down, but we don't know enough about them to kill them off or whatever. It could just be a stupid AI virus, although that sounds kind of silly. It could be through matter of arms. It could be through destroying every relay in the galaxy. It could be all sorts of things. We don't know. We're just
That's not the destroying of the relay.
No, I'm just saying. We're just brainstorming here. We don't know exactly what we're going to do. So these are logical things. Now, what did we get in Mass Effect 2? We got a proxy battle with the collectors.
Bunch of bug people. They stole a load of humans, and we blew up their base, and then went home and had cake.
Yeah, exactly.
So this is what we got. We got this crazy proxy battle with the collectors who stole humans stupidly to make a human Reaper for whatever reason. We don't know. You see how dumb that is? You see how it's simple, but it's really dumb. It has nothing to do with what Shepard said at the end of Mass Effect 1. He was just doing patrols. That's not what Shepard should have been doing. Shepard should have been going out and saying, listen, I'm a Spectre now. I have a ship. They follow me. They trust me. They all believe in this mission that Reapers are real, and we're going to do something about it. And that should have been the ongoing thrust of the story. Get more help. Stop them. Get more help. Stop. That should have been the whole thing. Okay, so how do we go about getting evidence for Reapers? How are we going to do this? Now, if we look at some of the DLC, some of the Mass Effect 3 stuff, there are Reaper artifacts, so they're not completely hidden.
You've also got things like the Leviathan of Dis, which was originally supposed to be Sovereign's Awakening. So, because that's in the Batarian sector, I believe.
Right. So there's going to be conflict with Batarians. There's going to be conflict with, I guess, the Geth, because they're still, part of them are worshipping the Reapers.
Yeah, I mean, well, the Geth would actually be the most logical sense in terms of, because they're the only race that's actually had an interaction with Reaper forces, because they worship the. So they would have information, even if, let's say, we go down the Mass Effect. I like the idea of Mass Effect 2 having 2 different types of Geth. You got like kind of the originals, then you got the ones that follow Sovereign. I like that idea, but let's keep the originals more in a smaller, almost token-esque style.
Yeah, we're not throwing out the whole cloth when it comes to Mass Effect 2. I mean, the ideas there were okay. They just weren't expressed well. The plot with Tim did not make any sense. There was no point to collect Pokemon and just have them because they were cool. And there were too many. And it was like, why do we have foot soldiers? What are they going to do? Shoot the Reapers with their rifles? Like what's the point here? So they had to make more logical sense. Things had to make sense. And this is what we're trying to do. So okay.
So this all kind of goes into the idea of, because this is a third person shooter style game, we need to give the idea of why would the Reapers deploy ground forces rather than doing what Sovereign did in ME1, where you just plowed through them? So you need to bring them down to that level, which is why I had the idea of you're just facing up kind of a vanguard of Reaper forces, and they're coming out, and they're going to be pestering you for the next couple of centuries.
So does that mean we need better resources than ground troops?
Well, you need everything, really. You need planetary defense systems, ground systems, ships, but the different kinds of ships, because obviously you can use the Battle of the Citadel as an example to kind of go, big, badass cruisers, slow-moving cruisers are not good because they're just going to get gunned down. So we need smaller, lighter craft, but with big guns attached to them. Basically equip everything with a Phoenix cannon attached to it. Like the Defiant of Star Trek. It's just going to be an engine with guns on it.
Okay, so that's the problem with Sovereign, at least as I understood it, is that no one could penetrate the shields. So we had to figure out. So you have to develop weapons that can bypass or destroy Reaper shields. Okay, pretty simple, logical statement, right? It's like, oh, here's an enemy. Here's their defenses. What do? We get around them or we go through them, right? Basic stuff. So, what do we have that can penetrate shields? Well, we have thermal weapons. And there's all kinds.
They always go through shields, don't they?
Yeah, like lasers go right through. You can use nuclear radiation would work.
Unless the hull, which I severely doubt it.
Well, we're talking about heat, and heats can just go right through Mass Effect fields, or Mass Effect shields, rather.
Yeah, but with a Reaper hull, though, they're probably, because they're designed to live out in space, they can probably absorb a lot amount of radiation.
Oh, no, yeah, I'm not saying that, the ultraviolet spectrum or the entire spectrum is going to work, but it is heat. There is some heat associated with it. So if it's a bomb that produces heat, or, like, we're talking about thermal energy, not necessarily a mass, like, because when you talk about transferring kinetic energy, that's what the shields block. So what kind of heat can be dissipated and what can't be dissipated? So there has to be something in the spectrum. If a laser can get through, then something on the spectrum that acts as a wave or a particle has to get through as well. And there's heat associated. So lasers would be the obvious thing, because we have Guardian lasers that do go through ships, which is part of the lore. And we have to think of other kinds of radiation. So plasma, the power from a star. I don't care how strong those shields are. A star is going to go right through them. Suns.
What about trying to overload the shields somehow?
Like jam them or give them lots of
in a way,
juice?
yeah.
Because if it's got a current going through it, then these can have electrical systems.
So EMPs.
Basically, yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay, so here we have our actual physical capabilities, which obviously have to be scaled up. And we understand our ships can't be too big, so maybe ships the size of the Normandy or smaller. Lots of lasers. This is the idea. So you have these two refs. Thermal weapons can work, and then you have conventional weapons or just new tech that can break shields. And that's where we get into Phoenix.
What the disruptor torpedoes were, I think, because
were there disruptor torpedoes?
Yeah, that was actually what the Normandy had on it. Had disruptor torpedoes, which had a chance of going through shields.
Oh, that was the probability. Was that like some weird physics thing where quantum mechanics plays a role?
It was something like in game when you clouded the ammunition, it was like a 30% chance of going through shields, but 20% damage reduction. But in the actual lore, I think they were called javelin torpedoes. Were they called javelin torpedoes?
That was the upgrade, yeah.
Oh, okay. But basically, it's just this idea of you have to get them like really close because it's a torpedo, it's not a missile.
Okay, so the idea again, we're having two, like, we don't want to go too crazy with solutions. We just want to have general bodies of thought. So it's like one is things that can go through shields and things that can break shields. So there's nothing wrong with following the lines of logic of, hey, we discovered this weapon that these Reaper guys had the Geth had at the Battle of the Citadel, and we developed a new weapon called Phoenix. And then we learned that in Mass Effect 3, Phoenix became a missile or whatever nonsense. because writing, I have no idea. It was the dumbest.
Let's load superheated molten metal into a missile. That sounds really
It's like,
safe. You know?
what are you doing, guys? Come on. It has kinetic energy. It does. Okay, never mind. So anyway, these are the two ideas. So what you can end up is a game ending or a concept where you have a bunch of ships that are just laser based. So they're just running circles around a giant 2 kilometer starship sized Reaper, and it's just melting the hull. So it's gonna, death by 1,000 cuts or death by 1,000 degrees centigrade in one point for like an hour. So something's gonna melt. Something's gonna go, and then things are gonna break. And I keep thinking the idea of like R-Type. When you have some big boss on the screen, he's got like all these components, and you're shooting one part, and that part blows off. Same idea. You just start blowing off a leg, the leg melts off, blow off the top of its head, poof, and you just slowly eat away at it. So it's a very slow process, and it's essentially you're building lots of carriers that have lots of tinier ships.
Actually, sorry, this is an idea that I just popped into my head, actually. It was actually when I played Homeworld Cataclysm, and one of the ships that you could have on there was called a leech drone, and it would attach itself onto a hull and just basically start burrowing into the hull, because shields don't physically stop you. But if you can launch something that can just latch onto the ship and start burrowing in, whether it's got some kind of acidic nature or, like I say, plasma, and it just burrows its way into the ship, that'd be kind of cool.
Okay, so that's a good point, because we have the two streams of thought. So this is bypass, and this is just overpower.
Heck, they could even be used for the EMP effect. Just they all link up together and they just like go tunk, and they just disable for a short period of time for everyone to give it a shot.
So here we have slow moving objects. So what would you call that again? What would you call that? Like a missile that launches other missiles? Like what is it?
I'd just call it a drone, really.
A drone, okay. And it feeds off the shields.
Oh no, it just latches onto the hull.
Oh, okay.
And
You
then
mean
it burrows
something similar to what happened at the suicide mission, at the beginning of the suicide mission, right? Like something
Kind
similar
of.
to that.
Yeah, kind of like the Oculus is, yeah, but instead it's just like it just latches onto the hull, and it produces something that just kind of goes through the hull, starts like either tearing it off, or you can all link together. If you want to do the EMP effect, they all like string together, and then they just overload it. Like just try and that could disable the shield emitters on the hull itself.
We have to remember that the Battle of the Citadel had, once that shield was gone, that thing just melted.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, torpedoes went
right through it. So it's not an issue of, I think they would have figured that out. Maybe we just slow really down, get beyond its shields, and then blow it away. Like it was just a simple thing. Like take any fighter, have it bounce off the shields and slow down until it keeps going, until it can finally penetrate, then start firing. Like it just, like try other things, guys. Come on, slow down, match speed. I don't care. You can try other things aside from keep firing. It's doing nothing. Keep firing. No, guys, come on.
Like one of the things come up to my mind was doing something like the Borg did, invading the ships, and trying converting them to their own design. Like imagine that, just slowly converting the Reap.
So having like nanotechnology, like a virus.
Yeah, but logically that would be kind of janky, because you could argue that Reapers could hack it and use it against you.
Right.
So that's kind of like off the table.
Yeah, you want to create a weapon that is like 100% guaranteed to just
that's the Reaper killer.
work, as opposed to like any kind of virus. Like, even the idea of planting a virus on a billion-year-old series of machines that have just like eat or humans or eat organs or eat organic life for God knows how long. They're like, yeah. You're gonna spitball us with what is this .exe file? Okay, yeah, let's run it. See what happens.
What's this line wire that you're talking about?
Like another thing that would be kind of, well, this is just brainstorming. So Imagine like sneaking small suicide teams inside a Reaper with a nuclear bomb. If they have, if I remember correctly, in Mass Effect 2, they said they don't have like some internal shielding at all. Oh no, sorry, the core had it. The core had some sort of shield.
Right.
But what would happen if you just take like strap a nuclear bomb directly to the core of the Reaper?
Well, that's the assumption that we can actually get past the shields in the first place. So once you get past the shields,
Yeah.
you can do all sorts of things. So the trick is they have these amazing shield defenses that are so powerful, and they haven't bothered to do anything else. Like they haven't bothered to research new technology that can distort time and space, so that if something passes the shields, it just bounce off this other defense, or much more denser hulls or whatever. They haven't done it. They haven't needed to. So once you get past those shields, anything's game. You can do viruses, you can do organic acid crap that just starts dissolving the hull, you can do nanotech, you can do explosions, all kinds of missiles that shoot other missiles, all sorts of ridiculous things. But to keep it simple, I think these two concepts work. So with overpowering, I don't know what another option is. But I think EMP, we should probably put that in the overpowering, because that would do crazy stuff. So electrical.
Yeah, but that would have to be like a special kind of EMP, because I would probably guess that they have some sort of
What are you doing
safety
there?
feature to like defend
Catch
from
yourself in
the
it,
first EMP or the basic EMP.
Okay. Well, these are all like, what would you do in Mass Effect 2? Like, what would you start doing? Because we don't have much information on the Reapers aside from the one we just blew up. We get a Phoenix cannon out of it. We learn something about their hull, and we start doing experiments from whatever. I think it was Leviathan DLC. Again, I haven't played it, but I've seen some walkthroughs. But people were starting getting indoctrinated, so there's this mind control issue, the idea of having sleeper agents and stuff like that. So those are other factors. So we have all these goals, and our conflicts would be the Citadel or the Council. So get them to believe us.
Again,
Get others to believe us. And that's every species. However far you want to take the story, it could just be the Quarians, it could just be the Alliance, it could be anything. So whatever the plot may take, however big our project is, or however big the story is. And the concept of how are we going to accomplish getting this information. So jurisdiction jurisdiction wouldn't even be an issue, because you're freaking you're a Spectre.
You can go anywhere.
So any enemies of the Council? There's Cerberus. There's, who else is a bad guy?
Shadow Broker, he's kind of
Shadow Broker. That's a good one.
I'd also say like a Batarian terrorist, but there
Yeah.
isn't any group that I can remember.
Well, they're
There
going to
was
be
like a Batarian terrorist.
they're going to be associated with the Leviathan of Dis, so that's going to be part of the main storyline. So that makes total sense. I don't like the fact that 800 million year old Reaper or whatever was pulled out of their ass. It was just like, oh, look, it's a Reaper corpse. You're like, really?
That really annoys me in Mass Effect 2, because not only that, it's because Tim basically kind of goes, hey, if you want to get the Council on board, by all means. Meanwhile, Shepard kind of goes, big giant Reaper, they're asking for evidence. Nah, sod it. I need to do something else right now. It's like, what? You have all this? And don't even get me started on that fake suicide mission where Tim's feeding the Turians false information. It's like, hey, about we get the Council on board. Okie dokie, feeds the Council false information. It's like, you lunatic. You just want to slap him at that point, you know?
I think he's playing a Shepard. Maybe you should ask him about this.
Yeah.
Okay, so these are all the practical, simple things, logically flowing from Mass Effect 1. You think, all right, this is what we need to do. We need weapons like this. We need to get help from people. And these are our main conflicts. I guess the other conflicts would be resources in general. So to build Safe House or Ilos, ships. So it's a resource war. Essentially, it's a resource war eventually, because you're talking about needing more help, and you need more help to get more resources, to get these things rolling. Da, 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 da. Yeah, okay. And the other stuff is evidence. So evidence on alien planets. Okay, so how do we solve all these problems? Well, we have a ship. We have capable people who are following our every whim. What do? Let's look at our characters and what they can do. So let's look at our first character, of course, Liara. She's our titular Asari. She is our definitive alien. And we ask Liara, what can you do? Well, she's an archaeologist, right? She can research stuff on Ilos. And with that finding, she can tell others, either Prothean researchers or other Asari, Reapers are real. So any evidence we need is either, let's assume that Sovereign actually, it's under control of the Citadel, and they're trying to cover it up. Fine, we can go find other stuff. Ilos is not some sort of, this really pissed me off. Oh yeah, we couldn't figure it out. We couldn't turn it back on. Like Ilos is totally worthless. Like, what? Are you serious? They built a freaking Mass Effect relay. They have all these Prothean bodies in storage. All this shit. It's like, no, we couldn't
And don't
figure.
forget that on Mars they have a working Prothean beacon, so they have to power it up somehow. So they must know how to power at least some kind or some types of Prothean technology, so they could develop it probably.
Okay, so there's going to be a whole the main plot or subplot with Liara as a research team. So we have research team 1. Remember, we're doing many things here. And she is, so Reaper Tech, Protheans Tech, or stories, and diplomacy. So she's talking to people to get people to believe, get the Asari on board, and then we could figure out whatever conspiracy the Citadel was trying to do in covering up the Sovereign or the Citadel attack. Okay, so that's number 1.
I think that the council should obviously be on board with you, but they're obviously trying to keep things low key, because kind of proclaiming to the rest of the galaxy, oh yeah, million-year-old robots of doom are going to come and wipe us all out. That's not really going to be good. But instead, this idea of trying to keep things low key, because they've just suffered a massive battle, they've got a lot of casualties, the fleets have stretched thin. I reckon, at least in part of this, would be the terminus systems would be taking advantage of this fact, and that's where the collectors would come in, that they're actually pushing for a war to distract the council and alliance, so that they can do their own objective. Because that's another thing as well, is that we need to put in the collector's objective into this.
Okay, so the terminus systems, we didn't even bring that up yet, and the collectors. So that's another big conflict. So we're gonna keep the main stories or story ideas. We're just gonna make them actual conflicts, like actual believable conflicts that people will go, oh yeah, it makes sense that you would naturally find some friends and get some resources, and people might want to take advantage of that, and maybe the collectors have agents that are sleeper agents or whatever. It's like, okay, yeah, makes sense. So that's team 1, and then so that's just archaeology, so old stuff, so old Reaper Tech, Prothean Tech, stories. Okay, so what else do we need? What else do we need to influence people? And that's something new, something common, something that can affect their lives right now. And how do we know that? Well, we have Ranathanoptis, and she was researching our wonderful topic, indoctrination. So we have to prove to people this is not some stupid Geth thing. Geth don't give a crap about your brain or influencing your brain with some radiation or nonsense like that. So she's on the hunt for research for my mouse for Reaper artifacts.
Well, actually, that's something as well. Remember in ME1, there were some planets where you saw the the Reaper artifacts that turned everyone into the techno cults. Garrus even mentioned, and it's like, but people talking about Reaper artifacts and things like that. It's like, well, how can this be a Geth creation when this is beyond Geth space, and it's been settling under here? It's only just recently been uncovered, so it's obviously like goodness knows how many years old. So there's plenty of evidence around. It's just no one's. Well, it's just Bioware never bothered to actually play Mass Effect 1, apparently. You know,
the idea we want to go with is that we get to like a Landsmeet sort of scenario where we just have all this evidence. We're just like boom, 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 like that sort of idea from Dragon Age Origins, where you're just everything's leading up to it. And yes, you've already convinced the minor players, but now you're here to convince the council, and the council are technically on board with you privately. But until you but they'll say if you go public with this, you're gonna get laughed at, and we're gonna have to take you away from the specters and all this other crap. So there's all this public image, and instead of going the route of subterfuge and this complicated plot, we're just gonna say just give us evidence. It's like no problem, we've got lots. We have to go find it though.
Because the council are just actually representatives of their official governments. They don't actually really hold any. Which is really funny when like humans take over and everyone thinks, oh, humans rule the galaxy. It's like, no, they don't. They don't run the Turians. They don't run the Asari Republics. They don't run the Solarians. They're just in charge of the seat on the bum at the time. That's all.
Okay, so we have we could pick other researchers here. It doesn't really matter. But the idea is that we have subplots or main plots associated with characters who are getting us evidence, getting us tech, getting us artifacts of all kinds, and while they're there, they're also influencing the people there. So these are all talking points that we can give to prove the big bad is coming. So we can keep going. I mean, I don't know how far we want to go with this, but research team 2, 3, 4, 5. Go Geth, all sorts of things. Quarian. Actually use some of the subplots from Tally's story. What's up with the suns, dark matter, dark energy. So
that's another like plot. Where did it go in Mass Effect 3?
Yeah, so so all these subplots can be used in explaining getting data. So very similar to how we got points in Mass Effect 3, which were just, well, not points, we got whatever resources that translated into points. We're getting actual things, pieces of data, or plot points, or sub-stories, sub-quests, and allowing us to create this body of knowledge and evidence that people say, aha, these things are real, we have to do something about it. So research team is one thing. Then we actually have an R&D team making the stuff. Okay, so we've learned a little bit about the Reapers, not much, but what we know so far can be effective. And we've already talked about the weapons and thermal weapons or all kinds of overpowering their shields, because this is the only way we're thinking. This is the only way that we can logically stop these guys. We're not like super geniuses on how to connect all these relays and blow up the galaxy or turn people into green goo or whatever. We're not doing stupid shit. We're actually doing logical things.
What's interesting is that we're basically trying to do what Sauron was trying to do. So basically, Shepard needs his or her own Vermeer to do research. Something that's out of the way, that the council would kind of go, yeah, we're going to give you funding for it, but if you get caught, you're not associated with us.
Essentially, yeah, we are taking the role of a Saren and saying, okay, we got to do some edgier stuff. We have to start experimenting because no one's going to survive anyway. And maybe, I don't know, maybe as the hero character, you suggest yourself. I don't know, that's kind of pushing it to be a human experiment. Maybe that's why Shepard becomes cybernetic. Who knows? All sorts of fun stuff to do. But we're making weapons, ships, habitable areas.
Well, maybe that would be a way of Shepard trying to figure out more about the Reapers themselves, is by implanting more of the technology so he can interact with it more clearly. Like with the Prothean beacon with the cipher and things like that.
Okay.
So that's one idea. I'm not 100% sold on it, but it's just one idea, that path that you could take. But obviously that would make you very, what's the word now? The council wouldn't approve that. They'll be seeing you more like too much like Sarah and be like, hang on a minute, we've been down this path before, you know. So you'll end up actually like being cut off from the council and alliance, but you'll have the other groups to go with, like Cerberus, Shadow Broker, and maybe even Terminus systems themselves.
So in a way, you would be like Tim from Mass Effect 3, right? Because he implanted himself with some kind of Reaper technology.
Yeah, but less dumb and without any actual kind. I'm
Yeah,
going to
that
try and
was
control
dumb.
the Reaper. I'm not going to. He's not trying to control the Reaper. He's just trying to understand bits and pieces. You know, it's like Tim just interfaces with a Reaper. Like, nah. It's like, no, his mind is going to go plop.
Okay, so we have research teams, we have R&D teams, and we're going to have another team dedicated to stopping collectors, stopping the attacks on colonies. So we're going to be assault and protect, I guess. I don't know, save, response, yeah,
Mostly response, yeah. Because
response.
at least the way I've always pictured the collectors is that they wouldn't be in some kind of mass. What was that movie now? The one where the all Close Encounters. It's not going to be like that. It's like we're a secretive race. You know, like, they're going to have Normandy-esque style ships. They're going to be very stealthy. In actual fact, I would give them all the stealth technology that the Geth had that they introduced. Like they would have the invisible thermocam optics and that kind of such.
Okay, so it sounds like we have to have another part of the story where we really sort of hedge our bets with the Geth, and we have to, so kind of bring Tally's and Legion's story into the main plot line, because we really need an upgrade to our technology, and we need the resources to do things very quickly, and that's why we have the Geth. So I'm going to do plot. So
Actually, just a thought. What if you would make the Tally versus Legion also kind of like a moral dilemma, where Legion would basically argue that Shepard should be like more cybernetic to be able to like some interface with at least some kind of Reaper technology, while Tally would be against it.
okay, this is all interesting stuff. I mean, the stuff that should happen in the second game as opposed to the third. We could sort of postpone what happens in the third game, like the wars and whatnot, and just say, listen, you guys can keep fighting over your homeworld. I don't care, okay? I need resources. I need them now. I have Legion's Geth that are 100% behind me, and I have a whole bunch of Quarians that sort of care. And then that's that, right? So we can keep going with the concept of things will get resolved later, but right now we need to start building an army. We need to start, moving. We can't just like fight one enemy, which is the collectors. We have to do everything else. So
this is the idea of breaking up the Reaper. So you can't, because if you fit, because one of the problems that Mass Effect 3 falls under, because people keep going, you can't win against them conventionally. It's like, well, what was stopping them from just waltzing over to the Citadel, taking it over and locking it all down, and everyone would be dead? You need to break them up into piecemeal forces which you can contend with. And maybe the Reapers, I know I'm jumping ahead to Mass Effect 3 here, but if they were to make an assault, you need to have it so that they would be able to repel. And the Reapers kind of go like, oh, wait, hang on a minute, these guys know what they're doing. We can't do that.
okay, so we want another scenario or plot point where this is like Vanguard 2.0, and we have to stop them.
Pretty much, yeah. They also, as well, is trying to convince the governments of the other races to try and make sure the importance of the Citadel, that the Citadel, if the Reapers take control over it, everybody's done for. It doesn't matter what your homeworld's there. Everybody, and that's maybe something that if you don't convince these people on, I know once again I'm jumping on ahead to 3, but if you don't convince these people, they won't arrive for the final battle, as it were, the final battle of the Citadel.
Okay, so everything we're doing is to get people to believe you. So this should happen very similar to how in Dragon Age Origins you were doing every plot point just to get to this one point, get all your resources together, get all your evidence, make it public, and that will have a lasting impact on all the cultures and civilizations of the galaxy. They say, oh my God, we're all going to die. We got to do something about that. So assault and response, let me just write these out quickly. So Garrus, Rex, whatever they're doing to stop collectors, to stop Cerberus. Again, we're not trying to rewrite what these guys are for or about, but these are teams that we're sending out. And obviously, research team, I think there's really not much gameplay you can do with research, but you can do it with Garrison Rex and whomever. Be part of their team. They could have other NPCs that you can control, or whatever, generic Turians, generic Krogans. That'd be fine. Plot points. So here we go. Well, we haven't quite figured that out yet exactly with the story, but Vanguard 2.0 is going to be a whole thing where we figure out a trap, I would imagine, for the Citadel, which we just talked about. Over here. Citadel is a trap for the Reapers. And it's just a temporary thing. So it's a trap. It's to slow them down. So we're not actually going to kill them. We're just going to slow them down. Could be a feedback. We set up a trap. We kill off one or two. It closes the Citadel because we're in control of the Citadel. They can't. We can't just like turn it back on. So we make sure that it's never can happen, and we keep the Citadel from being used again. And this ties into not the Arrival DLC, but something. It should be like another Arrival DLC, but not Arrival DLC. So Arrival DLC was like, oh, they can just connect to another relay. It's like, oh, why can't they do that with every other one? Because story, because it's the alpha relay, because there's something special about it. When, as far as we could see, it was essentially the same model. It was the same. It looked exactly the same. It did exactly the same thing. It was just one of those secondary relays that can connect to multiple shots. It's like, okay, well, it's the furthest away in the Milky Way arms. You're like, okay, distance doesn't really matter. But sure. So there has to be something connecting that so that it explains why Citadel can't be used, but no other relay can be used as well. So they're doing their own thing to get to the Milky Way galaxy. And we're doing our best to stop that, slow them down.
I think one of my ideas goes into the collector's plan, whereby they know that they can't take on the Citadel directly because of Sovereign's failed assault. Really, the protection systems are going to be a lot more superior. So they kind of go, right, okay, we're going to be building up a secondary relay that's going to try and link up to the one in dark space, but we need to get information off of the Citadel to, like for example, the master control unit, even the keepers, because if they're in control. If they're the ones that activate it. So there's something on board the Citadel. So you could have like a kind of a chase against the collectors. Like the collectors are trying to like do feints. Like they're just throwing everything at you, but you realize that they've got an actual objective. They're just here to just get a singular piece of information. That could then just simply kind of go, yeah, we're going to win now. And that's where the, it's their objective, I should say.
Okay, so essentially we're putting Mass Effect 3, or at least the ideas of unifying the galaxy, or at least making them believe you, into Mass Effect 2. We're just doing it a lot differently. And all of these elements are essentially there for our characters to do exactly what they should be doing. So in this case, we have Garrus, Rex, and any like Morden's fine. Wix. That was his name? Wix? What the hell was that guy? Who was the other Morden, the replacement for Morden? Padmon? Padmon?
I'll check. No, that was...
Well, anyway, any Solarian. Doesn't matter. Sorry, we have, obviously, Liara. Cerberus. This is where we get interesting with... our characters, so Miranda, of course, and I think we want to do something fun with our characters.
Malin, that was his name.
Malin was his assistant. I was referring to the guy who, if Morden dies, this guy replaces him.
Oh, let me.
Oh, someone typed it out. Wix. Okay, I was right. Thank you. Thank you. Wow.
That's right.
Okay.
I think it should be a kind of no-name, or I'll say a no-name person, someone who isn't going to be as effective. Like people are going to people are going to die because of that person being lost. There needs to be an actual consequence to it.
I wouldn't mind it being like a Paragon Renegade issue that Morden was more Renegade and Wix is more Paragon. And I didn't like what they did with Morden in Mass Effect 3 where his mind just changes. It's like, oh, nope, I made a mistake. I'm going to redo everything. It's like, dude, that's impossible. You told us in Mass Effect 2 it takes like 100 times the difficulty. How could you... Oh, I did it. It's like, what?
He just did it in his lunch break, like, oh, right, okay. Yeah, sure you did, buddy.
Okay.
I just like the way of how what was it now, Mass Effect 3? The Reapers were trying to protect something to which we were trying to use. Like, why didn't the Reapers just, like, destroy that tower? Why do they need the tower?
Well, why did the Reapers just stand around half the time for everything? It's just... I'm a giant spider. Yay.
I know that Harbinger gave everyone a nice farewell, and he was like, oh, sorry, cut the scene, can't do anything here, lads.
I'm going to be a building. Ooh. Thanks. Fantastic. Okay. Did I spell Solarian wrong? I'm sorry. Solarian. Yeah, I did. Okay. Solarian. Geez, one letter. Guys, so sensitive. Okay. So characters like Miranda, perfectly fine. We're going to take her and combine her with... I think I did this actually in my rewrite.
Combine her with Jack.
Yeah. And she's going to be obviously a Cerberus person, genetic experiment. So imagine if her dad signed up with Cerberus back in the day as opposed to recently, and she was a Cerberus experiment.
I think wasn't one of my ideas that I told you was that she's actually a survivor from Collector abducted, and that's why Cerberus took her in, because of what the Collectors did to her.
Interesting.
That would kind of give her a personal stake.
Yeah, very similar to Liara, how she can feel, the visions from Shepard and figure out where to go next. That idea, whereas Liara was the mind reader with the Prothean visions because her knowledge of the Protheans, whereas Miranda is sort of like not the spirit guide, but the compass of where to go next. So this is very similar to Stargate Universe, where you have the female get captured and then she's affiliated with the aliens and they can sense aliens.
Well, to be fair, in Stargate Universe, she had to be captured because they had to implant a flipping personality into that oxygen.
Okay. Yes, not too many people like that actress. Okay, we got.
Just a quick question: if you would like the recruitment of Miranda be optional, or would it be required for you to progress?
I think it should be required just because of the importance of the Collectors and Cerberus's angle. But we're gonna make it different.
My thought was, sorry.
Go ahead.
My thought was that if you had the option to recruit her, but she would be heavily like a practical sort, and she wouldn't care for any kind of ethics or morals. She would just do what it's supposed to do. She wouldn't care at all about the patient's suffering. No, it doesn't matter. We need the test to be done.
There should be
Let the subject suffer. We need every piece of data we can get.
Yeah.
And you would have also a moral conflict with her.
Yeah, she's
Morden, wouldn't it? That would be the.
She's a recovering renegade. She's extreme, but you're trying to ease her out of it.
Yeah, something like that.
Whereas Morden is well, they're gonna die in 2.5 seconds, so do it now. That would be his mentality. And then you're well, Morden, did you really need to do that? Well, I saved them half a second of pain, so of course it was a good idea. Oh, okay. So yeah, no, everything in this story is renegade. Everything, we're just go, 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 go. So that's what you want out of a dark storyline. You want characters and things to be extreme and to be pushed as far as they can go. So with this, because we have the dialogue, we have Shepard being, okay, whoa. I know we just blew away, 100 or 200 aliens, but we got this one person with us. We can keep them alive, and not just pump them from information and then kill them. Let's just keep them alive. So
We've also got the other option of laying a trap for the collectors to try and get their technology and so you're actually baiting colonies. Like, that's a renegade option and a half.
that would
ain't
be
it?
cool. Yeah, which collectors? That's really nice. Baiting. Oh, jeez. Baiting one colony, and it could be a yes or no. Could be like the fork in the road.
Yeah.
That could be a major plot point. So major.
But this also means that being Paragon actually has consequences too. It's not all going to work out in the end by being nice to people. There is actually going to be like, because you failed to do that one thing, then something else could happen later on down the road.
Okay, so what do we do with the collectors? We bait them into one colony plan, and what's the other option if we go the second route? So we're either going to sacrifice. Now we could sacrifice a colony, but we also like give it a lot of resources and defenses so it can defend itself. Like that.
Or maybe we could go after Shadow Broker.
I'm trying to
Because
keep. Yeah, I like the idea. I'm just trying to keep the DLC as like that was the only DLC I actually thought was a solid story.
yeah,
And
it was. I'm just thinking that if I wanted like to know as much as information as I have to or need, I would probably go after Shadow Broker first.
well, the way that I want to do it, I just in terms of like what we're doing up here with research teams, is if we can't get enough data or we fail, we can just spend money to the shadow broker. He's like, you go get us this stuff because we don't have time or we don't have enough manpower. He's like, well, this is going to cost you 2 million credits. You're like, here you go.
That sounds a lot like microtransactions.
Well, no, not like you're spending real money. I mean, like,
I know, but immediately I had the thought like, hey, do you want some info from the Shadow Broker?
I suppose if you're going to do things like that, then obviously you can't pay it all off, but you have to be doing missions for the Shadow Broker to pay off those debts.
it could be missions. It could be money. We could just be a client. I want it to be as neutral as possible because if they are going to, let's assume Liara becomes the shadow broker in the DLC, and then the third game happens. Then we don't want to go one way or the other. We want to keep it as neutral as possible. And
Okay, so keep it as a DLC. Okay.
well, yeah, I'm trying to like maintain as much as possible. It's the same idea with my previous. Well, not the same idea. I did rewrite quite a lot, but just using the same elements in a different way, that's probably more logical and makes more sense to do things with. So like say if we're gonna attack the collectors, how would you do it? You'd make a trap. You wouldn't attack them head on. So it makes sense that you'd do something renegade, like making a colony and sacrificing that. You can do the same with a ship. You can do the same with the Citadel or whatever. If we know they frequent Omega, then you'll lay a trap for them there. Like all sorts of things you can do. So,
Okay, so how about then the second option being that you like spread your resources and try to have like certain points where you have like a small stations from where you can scan the colonies around, but that would be like really hard on your resources. So you would have the option to just save the resources, which would be the renegade option, and basically bait the collectors to one of the colonies, or you would basically send your frigates out, and not in the entire system, but where would you think they would probably hit next?
okay, so you're gonna put a series of like, geez, this sounds like my fixing Mass Effect 2, where you have a series of beacons or probes, and you're just monitoring everything. And
Yeah, but that would cost you a lot of resources.
yeah, but that's what I mean.
Also
Like
costs you time.
that's the point. Like with Renegade, it's like we don't care, just do it now with the one colony. Whereas
Yeah.
the Paragon would be like, well, no, let's not do that. Let's just spend a lot of time and money and do it right and monitor everything, and then we'll respond as fast as possible. Like that would be more Paragon. So in any case, a colony is getting hit because we have no idea where these things are and how they react. So probes beacons to monitor everyone. There's consequences in both. We're not going to talk about that because that's pretty obvious. One gets destroyed or killed, lots of people die, get captured. But ultimately, it comes to a battle with the collectors. So we're still fighting the collectors, fine. Obviously, we'll do it a little bit more intelligently. This could relate to gameplay. We could have a mini game. We could have space battles. That's a whole other story, other conversation. But that's what you do in games. If you're going to have the scope match the story, you're going to have gameplay that matches whatever the conflict is or the resolution is. So if you're going to Andromeda, you're going to be building bases. You should have an RTS or a 4X game. Like that's just makes sense. It's not just, hey, we got in a ship and after 500 years we're here and there's a big tree in the sky which is space and it's sucking us and we don't know why, and oh, look at that, there's aliens, but there's only one kind of alien and it's kind of weird, and no.
Well, I think with Andromeda they replaced the antifreeze with Botox.
Can't move my eyeballs.
My face is tired from this.
Okay, so this is the idea of working with choices and what have you. I like the dualism aspect of the story because Paragon Renegade is very dualistic. What we do with Miranda and Jack, we combine them, and then we have Oriana. Same thing. So again, clones, same idea, but she's like evil Miranda, or Cerberus Miranda, like the actual Cerberus Miranda, one who's actually like pure Cerberus, pro Renegade. She's going to do all the nefarious things. So we have a lot of conflict already for one of our main characters. And it's very similar to Liara when you think about it. Liara had the ability to figure out what's going on with the Prothean beacons and the visions from Shepard. And she had a conflict with her mom. Same thing with Miranda. She's an experiment. She has a twin. And maybe Miranda escaped when she was younger or rebelled. But her twin stayed. She obviously still loves her sister. And there's we can do all sorts of wonderful things with Miranda and Oriana. Oriana kind of pissed me off in the third game. She was kind of like a damsel in distress for the sake of it. Not to say that's wrong. It's just that they could have done more with it. And it was just like, I want a sister because I'm lonely, or I want a family. It's like, that's nice. I respect your feelings there, Miranda, but that's all it is. That's like it's like watching an episode of some police procedural and one of the person's loved ones is caught in the crossfire. Like, oh, she was in there for 20 seconds on screen. And it's like, okay, it's not really great. So use your characters well. And this is what you want to do. If you're going to have characters like that, they have a familiar relationship, make them integral to the story. And you can, everything that, we can think of with Oriana being evil or pro-human, do that. Perfect. And you know what? Use the same model. Don't give me a secondary model. Make it two Mirandas walking around. Save resources on your game design.
Will one have a mustache or a
Okay.
Like if you get the loyalty missions, like the ending of the loyalty mission of Miranda, your Miranda, would be where the Oriana just turns around in a chair, stroking a cat. I see you've come for me at last.
I have you now, Commander.
Do you think you have got me? Oh, silly you. Let me prove you how you're wrong. That would be like...
Okay, so we have Miranda to do all the main plot missions with the Collectors and Cerberus. There's going to be attack on the Citadel. So instead of Cerberus, it's the Reapers, or it's Collectors. Yeah, it can be Collectors too, who cares? Reapers aren't here yet. Other characters, I'm not really going to think about too much unless you guys have any particular concepts that you can refine or make easier to explain. I think we could have used the simple one is Caden, and well, maybe not, because Caden ends up being something different. Although they're both technically Spectres, aren't they?
Only in the third game, wasn't it? Where it's
Yeah, it
just
was in the
given,
third game.
so we can
So,
ignore that.
yeah, I'm trying to think of what we can do with these Kate and Ashley uh, examples.
Yeah,
There
they
was a
also like ignored it in the third game. For example, in the Citadel DLC, if Ashley or Caden was there and they were a Spectre when the evil Shepherd clone stole the real Shepherd's identity. What about the second Spectre that's like right next to me? But like she or slash he has no power.
Yeah, you should have lots of access to like everything. Just override
Yeah,
every
that
safe.
was completely ignored in the Citadel DLC, and probably right after you rescue the council or save the council in Mass Effect 3, that was just ignored. Like, hey, I'm a Spectre. Yeah, what can you do? Nothing. Oh, okay.
Just another
I
Okay,
mook.
don't.
Caden.
So yeah, we're not sure what we're gonna do with them. Obviously, they should play a role because cameos are dumb. If you have a video game, use them. Okay.
But honestly, maybe the only thing, but that would be like for 5 minutes, like small encounter, would be probably with the family. Like they would probably just send you a letter saying why did you choose the other one or something like that.
Interesting. I don't know. Maybe that would be.
But like that's just a small thing. Like in Mass Effect 2 or 3, it would just be an email.
Yeah,
So
I would have
that
liked.
can be done in
I would
five
have liked
minutes.
actually talking to Ash's sisters or sister because it was such a part of her character in the first game where she's always talking to her sister in between missions. Um, it would have been
Yeah, that
nice.
would be interesting
It would
probably
have been
because
nice to talk to her as like a person, like I knew your sister and she died valiantly or whatever. Or if you're friends with her or she's still alive, then just because Ash is stupid and she keeps her computer on, her sister's still there.
like I mean something similar at the beginning of Mass Effect 1 where you arrived on Citadel and you had the what was his name? Bahuta? But the point was his wife died on Eden Prime and she was a member of Ashley's squad. And there was a conflict where the Alliance didn't want to give him her body,
Oh, right.
and you had to saw that. So something similar to that. It would be like just a small, like a mini side mission, or maybe just the email. I don't know. One of these things. Like with Caden, it probably wouldn't matter because if I remember correctly, his background was that he was what was his name? Orphan? Yeah, I think he was orphan.
Yeah, I haven't really thought about the Alliance involvement because they look to Shepard as already the hero. So whatever Shepard says goes, and everyone's pretty much on your side on the Alliance, but they just can't do anything. So I
Yeah,
don't
like
know what the Alliance
Shepard
can
would
do.
become the Supreme Chancellor.
No, but but yeah, there's not really the need for human directly. I like the idea of Cerberus by itself, and I think having Miranda Oriana is more than enough, unless we want further conflict. Like if we want,
I think there would be enough.
yeah, there's conflict between Jack and Miranda because it's pro and con Cerberus. Like this would just be another conflict of pro and con, or pro humanity and con alliance or con Cerberus and pro Cerberus. Like that'd be about it.
Or
So
maybe like only humanity survives versus trying to help everyone survive.
maybe, but I don't know. We have to think about this more because it's kind of like I don't want to throw them in there for the sake of it, but I know people want to see their romantic interest here because like how the hell do we do it? I haven't figured out all the bugs here, people. We're just brainstorming, so just as we go. Anywho's other characters. Obviously, the big one is Tali.
Yep, a
And
hugging machine.
the hug machine. We want to explore Quarian culture, and we sort of got to do that with her loyalty mission. So we should just keep going with that, and that's what the Quarian Geth scenario is. So
I think we should. The conflict that happened in Mass Effect 3 with the Geth and Quarren should actually be brought forward into Mass Effect. because that way you could resolve it. Either the Quarians die or the Geth die, or both of them live. You know,
Okay.
'cause
Let's just
that's
do
something
that.
that's a bit more appropriate. Yeah.
So just do Mass Effect 3's Quarian Geth conflict, and we'll resolve.
Yeah, because the Geth could be like, hey, whoa, that was nuts. And it also doesn't, this idea of like the Quarians would invade while during a galactic genocide happening. That's like aliens are invading the world in the United States going, those Chinese sons of bitches need taken down.
We gotta nip that one in the bud. Like, ooh, okay.
Yeah.
I honestly liked the Tali's loyalty mission. So if we could do something similar to that, but in the way of like arguing that the Quarians should talk to the Geth, well, to the normal Geth, not the heretics. Or were they heretics? Yeah, they were called heretics. Like something similar to that.
Yeah, I suppose you could do that in a way of because Tali's dad was basically for destroying the Geth. So if you're wanting to destroy the Geth, you would use the information gathered. But if, let's say, you're talking to Legion a lot more, and Legion's like, hey, actually, we're not too bad, you kind of want to keep that information subdued or away from individuals who'd want to exercise it.
That's an interesting thing. If you can actually say, okay, I can use some of this tech to fight the Reapers, and then like Tali's like, no, that's not going to work.
And you could also make it again like a Renegade Paragon option. Like, do you just want to take the stuff, or do you want to like talk it over with them and try to convince them and waste time and probably some resources as well?
Yeah, I think we want to go with the Renegade option is the first obvious one, and then you're like, wait, why are we doing it this way? We can probably find it. Like, we want to think like a Renegade and say, why do we need to dial it back? Why do we have to slow down? And that's where the dialogue pops up. Like, okay, maybe I should think about this and plan it out. Maybe. So it depends on how far we want to go. Like, one thing we haven't even talked about are the Rachni, and it's a pretty big major point from the previous game, and we do need at least a cameo, because the cameo was I thought the cameo was fine in Mass Effect 2. There should have been more of it, but we were expecting a payoff and we never got it. So either we develop that story or we don't, and we just have a cameo. So I would have liked to have seen a Rachni squad mate for the sake of it. It didn't have to be an actual model that you run around on the battlefield, but just a character to say, yeah, have a Rachni on your ship that's helping you out. That has secrets from thousands of years ago, because they've been around for so long. Have a huge conflict with Rex. Have all these issues pop up. So,
what if like the Rachni, for example, if you take the weapon modification from Mass Effect 3 and put it in the Mass Effect 2, what if like Rachni brought some like, I don't know, some like kind of technology to spice it up, basically.
To make it more effective or refine it.
Yeah, for example, just like a simple buff. No need for like, oh, now instead of normal bullets it shoots lasers.
So like an R&D team. So Mordin
Yeah.
and Rachni, a Rachni scientist.
Well, not specifically. Like, they would just bring like a small buff, but well, you just made me imagine like Shepard walking in a lab, like the room is full of Rachnis, and they just look on Shepard just entering the room. How am I going to talk to them?
Well, I like the idea of Mordin and Arachni in the same room, and Mordin likes singing songs, and the Arachni's like, this guy can't sing for shit. What the hell? I've heard music for thousands and thousands of years from hundreds of species. You're like, oh, this is brutal. I can't work with this guy.
Morality debuff.
Yeah, it's like, no, every day is like, I have pain. It's walking terror. Make the pain stop, Shepard. Okay, so other characters to speculate with. Legion. That's Legion and Tally. Yeah, it's the same thing. So we'll just leave that as above. And what else do we need? I'm not even thinking of like all the DLC stuff. I like the idea though. I like the idea of Kasumi, just because that's a whole angle that the game never went, and they didn't do it right. They could have. That's probably the best thing they could have done, was to add stealth to gameplay, and they never bothered. But it's such a simple inclusion.
Despite having a class called the Infiltrator.
You have the class, you had the missions, you have the character. She has a freaking cloak. You have a freaking cloak. Come on. Nope, couldn't do it. They had 2 DLCs that couldn't do it. It was Arrival and Kasumi DLC. It's like, just throw in the light mechanic. Throw in non-lethal takedowns. Throw in silent weapons. Throw in submission attacks. An extra gigabyte. Ooh, big download.
That would technically offer you another option on the Quarian Renegade Paragon option.
Yeah.
Like, you could just sneak in.
Okay. I like that too
Take the
much.
stuff.
Yeah. So Kasumi. I like the.
Kasumi Gojo stuff.
Just because I like stealth so much, I don't know what she's gonna do. But again, she's the one who infiltrates stuff. So we need a dedicated infiltrator. And Garrus is a little bit too gun hungry. And
Garrus would be probably like a Rambo.
Well, yeah. Him and Rex would be chumming around too much with the assault and response team, so
Like, imagine them returning to Normandy. Like, you're in, like, with Joker, they return, and you ask, so, how did the mission went? Well, we stole the data. And then suddenly, well, it depends. Like, some Quarian ship just blows off in the view screen.
it's like, oh, thanks, guys. Did you miss something along the way there? Did you forget something, maybe?
And Rex just says, well, we needed to get rid of the evidence. Someone had to do it.
Okay. I think this is actually more than enough, but we can just take that and even whittle this down. We'll get rid of no Krogan conflict, so resolve that in the third game. And I think there's enough drama and action in Tuchanka, I guess, that it can work, but just not the way it was done in Mass Effect 3. If we really want to go to resolve, because this is a big storyline. So I think if we build it up, so it actually follows, like this is a subplot that just keeps going into the third game. Like this will be a really nice, juicy, thick storyline with lots of characters and conflicts and drama.
Like, should just a question, should you like have also like some races prefer a specific resolution?
Yes.
Like, for example, Krogan and Solarians. Not Solarians, probably Krogan and Turians would prefer like the direct quake option, while Solarians would prefer the subterfuge.
Yeah, I think the Solarians want, they're just as nefarious, but they want it to be quiet. So if you can steal everything, great, as long as you're not found out. Whereas
and if you had the Asari, they would probably be the Paragon option. Just talk it out.
they're the diplomats, yeah. So you have to think about that in terms of your dealings with them, but it doesn't mean you have to be. I don't like the shoehorning of you have to be full or pure Paragon or pure Renegade. Every option is unique, and none of this. If you don't have a Paragon rating of 6, you can't do it. It's like, no. Shepard has communication skills. He can talk. He's just as angry or diplomatic in one way or the other. So But yeah, we have lots to play with here, guys. Look at all this stuff that it's just simple things. So we're doing all these things with the collectors associated with Miranda's character and her sister, her own conflict there. Tally and the Geth with Legion. All the issues with Krogans and Solarians and Turians. Morden is up there. It's all basic stuff. They did not have to focus on collectors so much. Collectors were certainly a factor, and we're not going to make it all about that. And we're not going to reveal as much as we could because it's a stupid storyline, honestly, what their goals were. Because what we knew of the collectors before was that, yeah, they just collected DNA. That's why they called them the collectors. They just found stuff. So why did they switch over? That's a whole plot point. We don't know why. It's just one of many mysteries that we don't know about our enemy. Because why would they be stupid enough to reveal that about themselves? It makes no sense. So you want to keep the bad guys hidden as much as possible, and we learn about them through relics, through our own research, and what we think is going to work. So when the third game hits, we're like, oh crap. We're screwed. Even though we have all these defenses and all these weapons and all these support, it's brought up to 10 again. We have oh my God, we're screwed. We have to now enact our plan and hope to God it works. So in terms of the research team, these are things that are happening while you're doing the main plot. So you're actually sending Liara out. You're sending Morden out. I don't know, maybe not necessarily Rhinothenoptus, but I'm sure you can collect other people or get other Pokemon, and okay, this dude is a scientist. I would even make a side character like Caden Ashley as one of these guys, like an infiltration team, or even a diplomacy team. If you want to go that diplomacy team, you can put all kinds of people on it. That'd be fun.
Yeah, you're going to have diplomacy, stealth, and combat.
This starting to sound like a Dragon Age Inquisition's tape. What was it? War table? No, it was Summon War Council.
Yeah. So you're sending out.
You summon them and just send this team over.
I would. Yeah, I put it closer to the same idea. It's pretty similar to Assassin's Creed 2 or 3.
Brotherhood started it.
Was it Brotherhood? Yeah, you send them on missions.
I think Brotherhood started it, and then you had in the Revelation, and probably the games after.
Yeah, so they do things. They come back. This adds stuff so that when you get to the Landsmeet scenario, you can choose who to rally behind. I'm not sure exactly how we should resolve the Landsmeet, but the outcome should be the utmost ideal, where everyone believes you. There could be a Manchurian candidate sort of fellow, obviously a Reaper agent.
Like some races would just pull out of the Landsmeet.
Some would, yeah.
Libertarians, they would probably just. Oh, it's probably another human thing. We don't want to be
the same with the Landsmeet. There was that one house that always sided with Logain.
Yeah.
It's like there's nothing you could do. So, but that's the most ideal scenario. So we discover that there's an agent, and same with collectors. So there's more than one, so that it gets deeper and deeper.
Yeah, that would be also interesting, but that would also, this kind of sounds to me like XCOM, honestly, in a way.
Well, it's not so much the gameplay; it's the idea of.
Yeah, I mean the idea mainly.
You're taking a space opera and you're getting as many questions, like big questions. Why didn't this happen? Why wasn't this discussed? Why didn't we talk about actually stopping Reapers? Because that's the point of the story. And it's like, oh, we got to make a super weapon we never tried before. That'd be like, no. That's dumb. No one should ever think this way. If it's not been proven to work and we don't even know what it will do, we're not going to do it. Okay? So you have to build up the story logically. This is science fiction. It has to make sense, especially the technology, especially all the aliens' cultures and beliefs. And diplomacy is what, or talking is what Mass Effect is all about. So to have this renegade sort of slant, where it's like we don't have time. And it's not even a renegade slant. It's just like it's an inevitable reality. And Renegade is the solution to all that. It's like, yep, just do this. So if you just go through the whole game Renegade, you're gonna win. It's gonna look like a hellhole when you're done, but you'll get everything you need to do. Whereas you have to have options where Renegade is the best option, or being as efficient as possible is the best solution, because that's how Krogans think, and they like you more. And yeah, maybe two of them got killed because of that, but that's just how Krogans are. And you have to respect that. So it's like, oh, I'll be Paragon up the ass when I'm talking to the Asari Chancellor, or the Asari in general. Like you have to have those flavors of Paragon. It can't just be Renegade and Paragon. It has to be, how Paragon are you? These intensities of Paragon. So
Yeah, so basically the ending would be based upon the balance you will try to strike between the Paragon and Renegade then, right?
yeah, depending on the main conflict of the second coming of the Vanguard, how do we stop them? What's the plan or the trap we set up? Do we launch them into the sun? Do we, do we launch the Citadel into the sun? And they're like, oh yeah, turn the locks off. Boom. And come out. Boof.
Like if you, like for example, if you just went with all the Renegade option at the end, you would just end up with, for example, Dead Solarians, and you would just kind of shrug it off. Well, they were weak anyway.
They disagreed with us all the way, so yeah, it's not our fault. They didn't join the winning team. We're the winning team, baby.
We played for survival. They played for denial.
Well, there's that. Then we have to think of ILOS 2.0. What becomes of that? What is developed? There could be all sorts of teasers or stingers at the end where the Reapers are aware of every ILOS in every existence. They just didn't care. All sorts of things can be revealed in the third game, where it's as if everything we've done didn't amount to much. Everything was like, yeah, like we made ILOS 2.0, we hid the crap out of it, boom, didn't work.
Like, so what about, like, would it also be like revealed that they did something on ILOS, for example?
Yeah, it would be nice to actually expand on what went wrong with ILOS. Why did
Like,
the AI start killing people?
yeah, like for example, they had like one indoctrinated agent, and
No, there
if
was
I
no
remember,
indoctrinated people there.
yeah, they weren't. But imagine that if they were.
Well, the thing that I wanted to understand was that if they couldn't just open up the pod, they were scared because then they would that someone would detect life signs and then discover everyone. It's like you're underground. You have all these shields. You're in all these pods. Like what?
Yeah.
No one thought maybe make a kitchenette while you're down here, have a storage of food, like a bed. Like no one. They could
Like
use the
what?
pod as a bed. Like it's not a big deal. They could live their life.
Like one of the things that I imagine probably was that they could like try to count, because in Mass Effect 3, Liara told us that it would it would still take a couple of centuries before the Reapers clean the galaxy. So they couldn't just wake up them after like 500 years.
Oh,
Maybe like
it was
600.
ridiculous though. It went past like 40,000 years, like it's just like, dude, they're gone. Like it's we have
Yeah,
to.
exactly. Like the AI, was it AI or was it VI?
Well,
If you're talking about Vigil actually lasted a couple of centuries in terms of its power capacity.
Yeah.
So it was like, yeah, this is going on for quite a while. And I think it only lasted like, I think was it 500 years tops or something like that.
Yeah, even if it was like 2,000 years, it's still a pretty big difference from the 50,000 years. So, like, for example, they would probably, like, I don't know, I will just throw a number, like 10% of them would be dead. And you had like 90%?
it was always a weird sort of reality that this AI just killed people, as opposed to
Yeah,
just turning. If you just open up the pod, like what's going to happen? A Reaper's going to randomly come by and start scanning. Oh, what's this bipedal organism we forgot? Like, where did he come from? I don't know. Well, what's he going to do? Nothing. Yeah, exactly.
and you would ask Vigil, what was the problem? Well, my BIOS wasn't updated. What?
Yeah, did they even have fusion reactors? Like, what did they have that would have maintained electricity that lasted 50,000 years? It's just like what exactly did you guys do?
Yeah, Vigil will probably tell you, well, we had 1,000 AAA batteries.
Yeah, I was playing solitaire only once a day, so you know I was computing pi to the infinity. Only
Whenever I finished the one solitaire game, well, there goes another part.
yeah. I was like, what the hell happened? Like, if they planned this thing to last, and it did last, they couldn't foresee. Gee, maybe another 10,000 years might be good. Let's get another storehouse of batteries. Hey, I know. Let's get a generator here. Let's resolve that problem with Mass Effect fields where the element zero generates electricity for us indefinitely. Every time we use an alternating current, it's like, oh wow, what a great idea. We never thought of ever inventing a perpetual energy device, or whatever the hell happened with Andromeda. I never understood how they traveled that long with how fuel works. Fuel was essentially a thing, and now it wasn't a thing.
It was actually a thing. It was because the ship still needs propulsion, because element zero just basically makes the ship either lighter or heavier. So you still need to kind of go forward. And the Andromeda thing would have needed a lot of fuel to keep itself propelled in that state.
So how did they keep going? We don't know.
Yeah, they just did for the power of Rider,
Space
I guess.
magic.
Now, unless we're assuming that they weren't slowing down and their motion was constant, then okay, they didn't need fuel, but they had electricity for 500 years or more. So if humans could randomly create an engine that could travel that far and generate electricity perpetually, I think Protheans would have been like, oh yeah, electricity forever, sure.
You would have thought the Asari, who have been around for like thousands of years, would have solved that thing.
It's like, wait a second, my body generates electricity? I can make an engine out of that.
Yes.
No shit. Like, it's in the lore. You're like, really, this thing just makes free energy. It's a byproduct.
Just not go into Matrix, please.
It's not even the main function of the Mass Effect. It just randomly makes energy. Like, really? Oh, we just solved like world hunger, the energy problem, any kind of vehicles. Like, it's just done. We've solved it naturally. We're born that way. You could walk into a car and just touch the dashboard and boom, you're ready to go. Like, oh yeah, I guess we could, but nope. Protheans couldn't figure it out. So all those wonderful questions in Mass Effect 1 you do with the R&D team or the research teams. Liara has these reports that pop up. They tell you what happened, what evidence you found of Prothean tech. She writes a dissertation that gets sent out to the other archaeologist people in the world. They're like, holy shit, you're right. There's arguments. Maybe there's a cutscene here or there. And that develops the scenario of getting a certain threshold of support with the scientists. And then you do the same with the engineers, and you show them artifacts, and they're like, this isn't real, this is fake, blah, blah, blah. This is obviously not Prothean design. It's like, we're not saying it's Prothean, we're saying it's something else. What are you saying? We're calling it Reaperish. Like, what? And then you get them to talk, boom, you got more influence. So you're playing this influence game, making friends, sending them off on missions while doing all these investigations of the collectors. So the collectors is, yes, on the main plot, but other things are happening. And you get to pick and choose who goes on those missions. And
So it's like show him the Reaper artifact. What is it made of? Evil. It's like, what is it? Evil. What is it made of? Doom.
I'm sorry, I just ran out of water, so I'm going to go grab some more.
okay. And you can keep the mystery of dark energy going as well with the Geth subplot. So you can keep that going. You can keep all the wonderful war with the Quarians and the Geth going and resolved. And even at the end, even though you get whatever new laser tech that the Geth give you because you saved them, you can put that on your ship because we're going with the thermal or the slow moving weapon style. Boom. You get something that's practical, and you get a new potential sub story or thread for Mass Effect 3, which is dark energy. And that's really what Mass Effect 3 should be all about the Reapers. All about what they want, what some of their mysteries are, and whether that gets resolved is not too important. I mean, hopefully we can plan out the ending from all this. But I think this is more than enough. I would have liked to have seen Arachni in here. I think the Krogan conflict is too big. It's much too big to deal with, but we can definitely introduce it in the story. Right.
Krogan could have actually been influenced by the Reaper forces, whether it's either by their proxy forces, and that could actually be like why you're fighting over to because the Reapers in Mass Effect 3 there wouldn't be as many of them, so they need ground forces. And the Krogan are kind of like, well, we don't trust the Council because we got betrayed by them, and therefore a lot more eager to join with someone else, especially if they offer a cure for the genophage. So if the Reaper forces kind of go, we've got this cure, do you want to fight for us? They'll be like, yeah.
That could tie in, yeah. These things can all work out very well, but that's the thing. It's too big to put into. Like, I didn't say it was bad in Mass Effect 3. It just felt like it was rushed. It felt like, okay, yeah, suddenly we have a cure. It's like, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Sure. All right, we'll go with that. And then there's a Reaper on Tuchanka. Okay. And then we're in trucks, and then we're running and we're jumping away from the Reaper, and then we're back on a
I'm in a fresher more to kill it.
A Geth. What is that? A Geth. It was some sort of land speeder with a turret on top, and you're like, okay.
No, that's Rachni. That's not Rachni. Sorry, that was on Rannoch. That's what you're thinking of.
Oh, sorry. Okay, yeah, I just hard for me to wrap because it was like this ancient Krogan environment. It's like, wow, look at this place. I thought it was just rubble, but nope, there's a whole labyrinth there. Oh, I don't know. I felt it was rushed. I felt they could have expanded on it, and I think the conflict is so good between all these characters and all these species that it needs more than one. It needs. You could tell a whole story about that. You can go a prequel and tell about the whole Turian Krogan Rachni. Actually, I would throw. That's why I really want a Rachni in here. It's such a good thing. Bring the Rachni back in Mass Effect 2. Give us a Rachni, either I don't know, a research person, even that Asari delegate, whoever that was in Mass Effect 2 on Thessia? Not Thessia. The Asari. Well, it wasn't Asari homeworld. It was the.
Oh damn it!
Well, whatever the one of the planets were, where we finally are. Anyway, I think that should be a really great conflict to play around with. Morden and Rachni. There we go.
It was Ilium.
Ilium, thank you. That's a great planet to play around with. Ilium. Sorry, we can resolve this on Citadel. You don't have to go to the home world. Well, we could. You don't have to. I think that's what the Landsmeet's all about. Cerberus, Citadel.
Quick question about the Rachni. Would you use them also as a bargaining chip? The renegade option. If you don't want to drown in Rachni, you will listen to me.
I think that's a bit too aggressive. I think you have to treat them like Javik.
Yeah, probably.
You know how like that's the idea with the Asari. Like if I want to introduce Javik, I would introduce the the theory or the mystery of Javik, and then I'd have Mass Effect 2 Javik DLC. I wouldn't just put him in the third game, which technically he was DLC, but it's the same thing. He's actually so integrated in the game that he is in the third game. So I would introduce Javik in Mass Effect 2 as an idea, and then ME2 DLC for a theme.
So you would do this the same as in Mass Effect 3, the mission, or would it be something completely different?
I wouldn't. Yeah, I'd change it up, of course, but I wouldn't. I wouldn't think about it too much because I mean we can go crazy with DLC, and what would Shadow Broker? How could it been better? Like, of course it could be made better, but it was already pretty good. So I don't want to do too much. I just want things to make sense, and I like the idea of simplifying the characters, adding characters that actually add value to the story and value to the gameplay. And that's to me is Miranda with Oriana, Tali and Legion, and Kasumi and Rakdai and Kasumi for gameplay and stories. Like just this is like nice and tight. Everyone else, Garrison Rex, doesn't have to be Ranathanopoulos, could be anyone. And you can assign Rex to freaking research missions, and you'll fail them so hard. Like he'll just start banging shit.
Or you would have like a critical success.
Yeah,
The report will be I hid it until it started working.
yeah.
And then it would be interesting if you had like some sort of also like newspapers where you had weird Krogan started punching things around. Really.
Yeah, so yeah, all the stuff like the collector plot line, we're not going to go into detail of how to fix that because it's just don't do what Mass Effect 2 did. Just have them hit the colonies, but then resolve them with your own plot line, and that is. Wait, I screwed this up. Sorry, major choice. So this is the major path. Battle with collectors. Doesn't matter where. Doesn't have to be big. Could be on their ship. Could be in space. Doesn't matter. You destroy them. That's the point. They're no longer a factor. They were a remnant of the Reapers. You got rid of them. That's the main point. Because we don't want to reveal too much about the Reapers aside from the crumbs they left behind. That's more than enough mystery to keep the questions going. So long as we get to the lion's meat scenario where you present your evidence and there's all these wonderful discussions, that is, I think, the focus. And all of a sudden, after the climax, you get a mini plot, and you begin to develop Ilos. And we're ready to go into Mass Effect 2. We see some ships, ship building platforms starting. Obviously, you'd have some of your own, so you have all the prototypes. So a carrier prototype. What was the name of the Citadel? I can't remember all the names. The Council ship gets a new gun.
Destiny Ascension.
Ascension. New gun or new guns, depending on what path you took. So all these wonderful. I just fixed that. Denouement.
Like, just like a small idea came up to my mind. If you wanted to do, for example, what you did in Mass Effect 2 at the beginning, where you kill off Shepard. What about if you say like, well, Destiny Ascension is a prototype and it should kill Reaper with relative ease, and at the beginning of Mass Effect 3, or well, not immediately at the beginning, or maybe like somewhere at the end of the first mission, you just see destroyed utterly. Yes, well, there goes our hope of at least doing something.
So the idea behind the Ascension was to make a really big gun just like 3 times as big, and it just didn't work.
Yeah, like you had some hope, like the Mass Effect 2 would end at at some like at a hope. You have some hope. You don't have like a total hope that you are certain you will defeat them. You have like some small light or blimp of hope. And at the beginning of Mass Effect 3, you just see it destroyed, annihilated. Is the Destiny Essential will just come in, I'll help you. Reapers, oh no, you don't. Hits it with a laser and just it's dead.
Well, I like the idea of not going big and going small and trying to outmaneuver your enemy, because when you have a really big opponent, you're not going to be able to match them in terms of power, but you have to be clever about how you attack them. And
Yeah,
that's
it's
why,
about the survival.
yeah, that's why well, if you want to showcase that, that's so ineffective, it's such a bad strategy. Like, imagine the whole path of building overpowering weapons doesn't work. Like, Phoenix is
Guess
like,
it's-
boink.
Yeah.
The opening of Mass Effect 3, I know we're kind of jumping ahead here, should have basically be their own Wolf 3.5.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So it's like, or even the opening of Star Trek First Contact, you know, where the Borg are basically just invading and they're just going through the ships and everybody's just throwing everything that they've got at them. And
That
it's
would
just
be
not
quite
working.
awesome.
Yeah, it'd make a lot more sense rather than Reapers going independent.
That's if you want to have a scenario where all your choices in Mass Effect 2 didn't really matter so much, unless you just want to showcase the guys who didn't listen to you, and they always get destroyed. Like, the Alliance just boof,
It's going to be
destroyed.
the first engagement, and I think like the Reapers are kind of smarter than like they want to test out new things, and if you've upped your gear up sufficiently, then it'll be like they did a lot of damage, but the fleet was quite almost destroyed in the result. If you didn't give them anything, then it's going to be like, yeah, they're just annihilated.
I see. So the idea behind it is then you think you're ready, no matter what you did, you're still going to lose. And if you didn't do anything, you just get crushed.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to like find a way to cheat out of that. Like for example, if you imagine like you're a fish and just a big fish that is coming right is directly in front of you, you just try like to find a hole that you can pass through so you won't get caught, like something similar to that, just the subterfuge. Even though probably the fishes will know you just got through. If you imagine the fishes are the reapers, I mean, because they they literally are fish.
Oh yeah, they are like space prawns, aren't they? So.
Well, I think the idea of sort of doing multiple things at once while still having a main plot line can work with subplots, with characters that you don't need 12 characters on a ship that just sit around while two of you shoot a bunch of guys on a planet. That's stupid. So having a story this big in the galaxy scope, you want to have other people go on missions and do your thing you need. I can't because I have other important things to do, and that's why you have people delegate your tasks. So research, R&D, other combat missions, diplomacy missions, infiltration missions. These are all, I think, basic stuff to do. Not necessarily just in combat, but in this sort of story. So you want this research, you want the people to go out and explore foreign worlds. And you can do all sorts of great graphics. So not even 3D rendered, but just like a painting of like the planet or the environment. Like, oh, Morden has to go into a really hot, barren wasteland that's 80, 90 degrees minimum, all this lava infested place. You have to have Mako he has to walk into and learn to drive. So all these things could happen. You could lose resources, you could gain resources, you can learn friends, you can learn from the environment, you can learn from their research data, and this all helps out in getting a better score at the lands meet. And who joins you? If you manage to get people in the lands meet to join you in the second game, well, you actually have a chance. Like, there should be a lose scenario halfway through Mass Effect 3. It's like, nope, you can't go. You have nothing left. You're dead. So it should really be a struggle in the third game. As opposed to, hey, you know what? You only blew up the Earth. Everything's fine. It's like, what? Really? I saved the galaxy? That's amazing.
Okay, so like the first phase of the game would be like going like recruiting probably some people that would help you, like going to the idea that you would create a lance meet and trying to figure out how to convince people. Then the second part would be like getting people to actually say, okay, I'll be at the lance meet. And the third would be like a conclusion.
Yeah, like think of I was in my Fixing Mass Effect 2 series. I remember talking about propaganda, and you would be constantly telling the public what's going on. So imagine if we had some new evidence and we passed that off to a reporter, and it's sort of like this, like a tabloid reporter. So it's like, hey, this is a weird alien artifact that no one would possibly, like the Prothean artifact. Give me a break, you know. And it's actually no, we actually have it, and it does this. And people are like, what? And there's like video of Commander Shepard like holding the thing, and there's a Prothean. He's coming out. It's like, yeah, you're all gonna die. There's nothing you can do about it. Run. Just enjoy your life. And everyone's like, what? That's not real. And you just keep doing that until eventually you get to the lands meet and there's all this public support behind you. I don't know if you guys ever played Persona 5, but there's that little meter at the bottom of the
Oh yeah,
screens that make you believe in the friendly, not the friendliness, but just the fact that the shadow thieves, or the shadow thieves, the like
the
what
Phantom.
the phantom thieves are real and they're good. They believe in you. So like that's that sort of mentality, so that the public is, because this is all for the public image, right? You're trying to do this to get political solution going, that the council just says, yep, this is what we're going to do. Shepard's right.
And would there be also like option to like make also like people panic? Because if I imagine myself like being a normal citizen and just seeing on a like a on like a morning or evening TV show, just Shepard floating in midair, doing something with just a ball shaped black thing, I would probably like freak out.
It depends on how you want to go. Like the funniest idea with that is if you just go pure panic, everyone sort of writes you off as a Looney Tune. And in the third game, there's like a second Shepard, like appointed by the council, who's like, okay, I'm now gonna do things, like as the council wants, because you screwed it up so poorly, and no one believes in Shepard. So Shepard's kind of like the the black horse, like, oh, who is this retard? He's crazy. No one's gonna listen to him. And then you have like Televasir, who's like, I am the council leader, and I am going to stop the, she gets her own version of the Normandy, and she goes off and does. That would be kind of cool if they had Televasir in the third game, and she would be your foil, but doing the same thing, because you can't have the Reapers as your foil. There's no personality. There's nothing. There's nothing to. They're just a big frickin' building. Like
Yeah.
there's nothing to argue. It's just like, I am going to destroy you all. It's like, okay, stop, no, dead. It's not going to work. So to have like a Televasir who's trying, like the same with Cerberus in Mass Effect 3, how they were sort of intelligent enough to pull things off, and they had all these resources out of their ass, but still they tried to do that. We're going to control. It's like, yeah, no, not going to happen. And that would have been cool if it was more, if they were holding your hand, or they were holding hands with you as you were going through, like there was like some leeway, like you saw eye to eye in some things, but it was just like, no, Tim's bad. He's crazy. We got to stop him. And that was it. There was no like, I would have at least thought Cerberus, of all people who worked with you before and who knew the threat, would be like, okay, yeah, we're gonna help you out here and there, but after a certain point, it's just us. Like, you can't, like, we're here to control. We're not going to help you either way. I thought that would have worked. That would have made sense, because they have their own plans. They don't step on anyone else's toes, and then you have your plans, and they come to a point. But it was always like evil, bad, like fight. Never, oh, there's some gray area here. Oh, there's people who might want to help you or might not want to help you. It's just always negative. So yeah, lots of things you could do with an extremist organization that is pure renegade when you're talking about a renegade story and you're not necessarily following in their footsteps. So if, however, we start off the story with Shepard avoiding, like the starting off, here we go, starting off, not dying.
Considered MIA. That's the maximum I would go.
Winning collectors, being saved by.
I'd say Saved by a Legion. Actually, that'd be the twist.
Legion would make. Yeah, I would have been the Geth, or sorry, not Geth, but the Quarians. That would have.
I imagine that it would also be interesting to show off like a news coverage, just showing you the tension of what happened. Like, I don't remember that I or the player in Mass Effect 2 ever like if you ever like feel what happened from Mass Effect 1 at the Citadel, even though you like see parts of it, there wasn't like a real impact on it. Because imagine if like some big weird black space squid just gets into Citadel space and wrecks through almost the entire Citadel fleet. Like that would probably also hit like the morale, even though it's how long is it? Like 2 years after?
Yeah, it's
Anyone?
pretty much 9/11, but for the world. I mean, imagine the UN building
Yeah.
was blown away. It'd
Like
be
there was no impact.
or if there was, they
I
never
never,
they
like-
never really talked about it socially. They talked about it politically. At least Anderson sort of talked about it, but it was like, yeah, they just shoved it under the
Yeah.
rug. It's like that's not really like, come on, really? That's it. So that's why I think you need you have to have this social side of things, and like it would have been great. Like my idea was that Liara just goes up to the counselor, mind rapes her, and goes, "Boom! Look, these things are real. I saw them. Now you do." And she's like, "That's true, but I can't convince everyone. So you're on a mission to convince people now." And it's like, okay, fine. So then you have to go around. And you start with obviously, I think the Asari would be the best bet. They're they're oldest, the most powerful. They're the ones to argue with, and you do that with evidence, and boom, you get Liara to get evidence, and then write reports up and showcase stuff. I liked my idea with Shala just because she was such a good use in the first game that I would like if you're going to include her, then include her properly. Like there's so many characters in these games that it's just I've already missed half of them, and eliminated the ones that were superfluous, like Zaid. Like you don't need Zaid to do anything unless you want to speed up the process of your assault and response missions where you send them off. You might need to hire a mercenary, and he could be a guy you just hire, and that's it. It's Zaid.
Yeah, like Zaid might be like a good contact for the mercenaries. Probably. I can't think of anyone else right now.
Yeah, and all the other stuff like propaganda I talked about in my rewriting stories. So it's like I don't want to repeat myself, but it's the concept of getting people to believe you in what you have to do in this crazy sci-fi world or space opera world, and how you could go about doing that, how you could do all these things within a certain time limit, doing research, going to dig sites, funding, putting money into all these teams, where to put your resources because they're limited. Like you have to look at not necessarily a weekly budget, but what are you spending your time and money on? Where do you put your R&D team onto what project? Because you have all these projects to research, and you don't have enough resources to do them all. So maybe there's a mini game of resource management just for getting the right evidence. And every piece of evidence could have a little rating system to it. So it's like, oh, this is not worth much financially or not worth much in research, but influence-wise, this is going to really turn heads. So, lots of things you could think about in making these sorts of mechanics worthwhile and allowing the player to make choices that are more than just, oh, this is like 100 research points. This is good for my science team, as opposed to, oh, I'm actually researching the Leviathan of Dis. That's going to really help out the Batarians. And they're our worst enemies. So we're going to really get, if we can get our worst enemies on our side, that's going to be great. So we want choices like that. And you want to be able to do that by delegating and keep the main mission focused on collectors and stopping attacks on humanity and trying to alleviate your renegade value as much as possible, unless you want to just keep bulldozing your way through everything. So I think we're good, guys. I think we've exhausted our rambles for the past 2 hours. Been pretty good. We're going to start again. Well, not tomorrow, but...
Yeah, we do need a break.
I do need a break too. Yeah. So anything else you guys have in the comments you want to talk? I was trying to read some, but we've been focused so much on our imaginations that I haven't had a time to go through it all. I know I'm not writing my CV for Bioware. Thanks. No.
I think he might be a bit too overqualified for that. He hasn't done one.
You should probably go find a list of what Mass Effect 1 choices the game save in the save file. Yeah, that would be really technical. But I really like the idea of using your companions to influence the species. Like Tali was a great influence on the Quarians, even in Mass Effect 2. And I think if you focus on that and put the Geth War conflict into Mass Effect 2, I think you'd solve a lot of questions and bring up a lot of better ideas than just throwing it at the last minute, which is dumb. Any other questions? No. Oh, there's one. Are we talking DA3, send people on missions? Yeah, Dragon Age Inquisition, Assassin's Creed, that sort of stuff. You want to send
Actual
people,
not cards.
Cards, yeah. As interesting as the artwork on the cards were, maybe make a mini game out of that. Not actually put cards, yeah.
Well, the worst thing about it is that that was actually going to be something that EA was going to try and monetize in Dragon Age, because it's got a timer on it, and some of the timers were like ridiculously long, like 86 hours.
Yeah, that's true.
You actually have to wait 86 hours. Of course, you can just go to your clock and just put it forward a couple of days and it's done. Just, reasons.
There also is a mod for it as
But
well.
if you're going to do things like that, then give yourself an army to then kind of go, right, I've got these units, and I'm going to deploy these units out in these assets and things like that, and that's how they're going to work. That's how it should be done. Simple. None of this waiting 10 minutes for, oh, you've got 7 elf fruit. How many guys did we send out? 120. It's like, I can do that in 10 minutes.
Okay, I think we've addressed all these. I'm just going to recap what we did. This could be a solution, turning the Citadel into a trap for the Reapers as an ending. Omega Relay, whether it's the Citadel, like this could be a Renegade or Paragon. Renegade would just sacrifice Omega, and or whatever, whatever you want to do, all kinds of silly things. Subterfuge, make another Eyeless. That's part of the ending. So you have these two projects on the go. One is Landsmeet. The other one is making a base of keeping every organism, at least the Citadel races, preserved. Get help is the main thrust of the story, let alone stopping the collectors, and delay the Reapers. So, which connects to rival DLC, which I don't like the concept of having bridging DLC, but if you want to deal with the concept of, well, if the Citadel doesn't work, use another relay, then a rival DLC is a way to do that. I did actually comment, I think that was one of the only plot relevant DLCs, because it dealt with what if, and you could put that in the story. It would be a very lame ending, though. Like after the Landsmeet, it's like, oh, go blow up a relay. Like, okay, sure, I guess.
I also imagine that you would have like the Telltale and yeah, Fallout 4 messages, like everyone does like that.
Yeah, I would just
Like you
get
just blow up a relay for
yeah.
terrorists like that.
I would just eliminate that DLC entirely, just because you could easily deal with lore to explain away why the Reapers can't just use any of the old relay. Like there's inventing an excuse for a story to take place to change lore. It's like, oh yeah, no, there's this older relay over there that is special. It's like, oh, really? Okay. Wouldn't that have been like plan B instantaneous? Like, oh, the Citadel doesn't work. Okay, guys, plan B over there. Done. Oh, the Reapers are here. It's like, oh, what? Like, it doesn't make too much sense that they don't care. That the Reapers are like, oh, yeah, we'll get to it after we lose more, more resources, more time. So we just lost an entire colony of species. It's like, what? Ah, no one liked them anyway. Like, what?
Like Solarians would be calling for help, and well, we never liked you anyway, so have your fun.
It's a bit weird. So yeah, just eliminate all those weird bridging DLCs. I guess the Shadow Broker is okay. Like I'm trying to be nice, but it's good. So there's things I don't want to change for the sake of it, but just fix the main plot, fix the main characters, give us answer the questions, give us proper conflicts. We have plenty of conflicts. Deal with the Protheans properly. Introduce Javik at least in the second game, not entirely, but just rumor to him. Have it be one of those dig sites that Liara is like scratching her head for, and maybe they actually have Javik, and they just don't want to open the container yet because they don't know how, and it's just there. Like we have a Prothean, we just can't access him. That would be an amazing piece of evidence to help influence others. Reaper artifacts, collector artifacts, all sorts of Prothean artifacts, Leviathan of Dis, Klendigan weapon, all sorts of awesome stuff you can talk about. This is big. I think having thermal weapons going into the third game would really change things. Pure lasers. Just it's like, what's going on? We're just traveling very quickly around the Reapers, like thousands and thousands of kilometers away. And then like 2 minutes later, here's pop. Melt. That'd be cool. Yeah, I think that's it, guys. All right. Well, thanks for your time. And we'll talk to you whenever we get to episode 2. Da, 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 da.